Perception is reality, regardless of what the actual truth is. Don't believe me? I could make a statement, a singular statement about this picture, and depending on who you were, you could see it as either a positive and be true, and a negative and be true. For example, birds of a feather flock together. Now, those of you who are fans of Donald Trump would say, okay, well, that's Mike Tyson he's standing there with, and Mike Tyson was a champion, so was Donald Trump. Mike Tyson struck fear in the heart of his enemies when they got in the ring with him. Well, you could possibly say the same thing about Donald Trump and his enemies in the business world. They were both very wealthy men. See, from the positive aspect, you could say, yes, that statement is true. But you could also say the statement is true from a negative aspect. Both of these men had legal issues regarding women that were not so savory. Both of these men are kind of known for being brash and outspoken and perhaps even a little inappropriate at times when it comes to women. And you could say the statement, birds of a feather flock together, is true regardless of whether it's negative or whether it's positive. So perception is reality. Now, we have a brand new video up over at the Patreon channel where we delve deep into psychological operations and how to use that type of tactic and technique to manipulate people, or to, more importantly, understand when you are being manipulated. And that's really the goal, to show people how easy it is to take somewhat benign and perhaps innocent comments and use them to twist things. Now, if you would like to join us over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, where we have a brand new video up just an hour or two ago, it's only $1. There's a $1 level, and there's a few folks over at the $5 level as well. The vast majority of videos, hundreds and hundreds of videos, are at the $1 per month level. It's even less than $1 a month, though, if you sign up for an entire year. And whether you sign up for the $5 or the $1 level, it's fully refundable. First 90 days, no questions asked. You see, unlike in Trump world and unlike Tyson's fights, there were a lot of people who watched Tyson fight and he won so quick they wanted their money back. A lot of people wasted a lot of money on pay-per-view to watch a fight that lasted a minute and a half. They thought, man, we should get some of that back. Well, that's not the case. But at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, if you're disappointed, if you don't think it's for you, if you don't think it's important or valuable, you've got 90 days to figure that out. Kick the tires. Check it out. Trust me, we got a brand new video over there. You're going to definitely want to see it. Now, here it is actually over there. The Trump-Tyson paradox, no-win scenarios, and psychological dysphorias. It's super easy to find. Now, what does this have to do with anything going on right now? You'd probably have to be someone in the Gen X era to remember the grocery store magazine era that was so prevalent. There was a story that ran around for a while about Donald Trump many, many, many years ago having an affair with Mike Tyson's then wife, Robin Givens. Now, here in the smaller picture to the left is Donald Trump's then second wife, Marla Maples. What many people didn't realize is there was also another story going on about Marla Maples having an affair with Mike Tyson. Now, whether they both happened, whether one of them happened and the other, or whether neither one of them happened, it was the perception. It was the perception, and that's what sold the magazines. Nobody bought the magazines because they thought for sure they were going to get a scoop that proved it one way or the other. But it was the perception that it was going on. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Perception is real, even when it's not reality. Okay, great story, Maquis. This is all still old. What does it have to do with what's happening now? Even Senator Ted Cruz has seen this. And he has come out and he has rung the warning bell and said, do not underestimate the power of perception when it comes to Kamala Harris and her presidential run. Now, if you live in an echo chamber and you're surrounded by social media that is all geared toward Trump supporters, you're not going to hear this. You aren't going to hear it at all. You're going to hear people dismissing her and laughing at her and saying she stands no chance and it's going to be a whitewash and she's going to get clobbered. Trust me when I tell you, in reality, Trump and Vance have a perception problem, regardless of what the truth is, of his ability versus Kamala's ability. Regardless of that truth, the perception is that it has been old white men over 70, 100 years that has gotten us into the state that we are in this country, with the debt and the way people overseas see us and the faltering problems with the economy, everything, all these problems that we have, the debt, the deficit, all this. It is now seen, it is perceived to be a problem that old white men caused. Even Megyn Kelly said she was sitting down with her daughter and, going over the little placemat that has all of the presidents on it, and it's all white men, other than Barack Obama. But no women. This is the advantage that Kamala Harris has. Regardless, she is never going to be held responsible for what Biden did. Because it's called what? Bidenflation. It's not called Biden-Harrisflation. It's called Bidenomics, not Biden-Harrisnomics, is it? And when you take away the Biden and you take away the old man, the old white man, there are a lot of people out there that think, yeah, if Harris had been really in charge, we wouldn't have had these problems. She was being held back by a bunch of old white men, the Mitch McConnells of the world, if you will. They were the problem. And here's the part that I don't think a lot of people have, Trump supporters, have grasped yet. Not only is Donald Trump fighting a perception problem, also having picked a never-Trumper as his running mate, that's just a little clone of himself. I put together, this is a collage of 6 pictures. I know it looks very busy. 3 across the top, 3 across the bottom. He is fighting the feminist agenda, the corporate agenda, the gay trans agenda, the black person of color minority agenda, the climate agenda, and the globalist agenda, all simultaneously. These 6 things, these 6 movements, are all going to fall in line behind what they see as a new hope, a new solution. The 3 men I have pictured here to the right, Wes Moore, Cory Booker, and Pete Buttigieg. If she's smart, she'll pick one of these 3. Wes Moore, former military, very well-spoken, very a go-getter, very aggressive. Cory Booker, this guy cut his own pay twice while giving pay raises to public servants in New Jersey. Pete Buttigieg, also former military, openly gay. Now, to people who are a little more thoughtful, none of these things should matter, but they do matter because it's perception. She raised $50 million in one day. To put that in perspective, all of Biden's coffers that he had to this point, all of his money that he had raised up until this point was $93 million. She raised $50 million in one single day. Who watched the video yesterday where I said, wait for the tsunami of money? Still don't believe me? Believe Donald Trump and his daughter. Wait, what? How many of you remember long time ago I said, if Trump were smart, he'd put her in a position of power. If Trump were smart and he wants to run again, he would put her in a position of power. What? In her book, The Trump Card, and that's the title of the book. Here's a quote. Perception is more important than reality. It's more important than reality. If someone perceives something to be true, it is more important than if it is, in fact, true. To go on from the book, The Trump Card, Ivanka Trump, she continues, now, this doesn't mean you should be duplicitous or deceitful, but here's the most important thing. Don't go out of your way to correct a false assumption if it plays to your advantage. Don't go out of your way to correct a false assumption if it plays to your advantage. This image has been floating around the internet for a while, and it hasn't been corrected. You've given us no choice but civil war. This is the perception of everybody who goes to Trump rallies, everybody who supports Donald Trump. This is who they think you are. And nobody has bothered, if it's not a giant 450-pound guy sitting behind a computer tippy-typing anonymously through a VPN. You haven't corrected it. She was a model. Literally every dime she made was all about the perception of Ivanka Trump. The perception of it. And believe me, she didn't hold back, especially when she was younger. She thought it would make her money. She would let it make her money. There's other images I can't really show that people have come to me and said, why did you show that image of Ivanka? You shouldn't have showed that image of Ivanka. She didn't care. Believe me, if she wanted it taken down, she just one call to Google. But it made her money. See, here's the problem. And I shared this before. You know, these men, they're not the sort we need, was said by Benjamin Martin's son in The Patriot. Because they were, well, they were warriors. But they had some appetites and some predilections that he thought were somewhat unsavory. And he's like, well, that's who you use to fight wars. That's who you use to fight wars. And a lot of people missed when Lord Cornwallis was berating his Colonel Tavington. He said they're farmers. They're angry farmers with pitchforks. Now, they were something more than that, of course. But at their essence, that's what they were. I loved putting these four pictures together. It was for another video I did many years ago. Patton, Eisenhower, MacArthur, talking about planning, having a good plan. Execute it violently and do it today. That was MacArthur. Do it today. Eisenhower, in preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Patton, kind of echoing MacArthur, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. And of course, Tyson said everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And that was kind of the thing about Tyson. How Tyson changed boxing. Nobody, prior to Tyson, people went to heavyweight boxing matches because they wanted to see two pretty equally matched opponents go at it. And the back and forth, and oh, this guy's ahead, and oh, and this other guy's ahead, and oh, that guy got knocked down, but he got back up, and at the end, you know, maybe there was a knockout at the end, but they wanted to see a fight. They wanted to see a fight. When Tyson came into the arena, he changed all that. People went to see Tyson because they wanted to see Tyson kill somebody. They wanted to see Tyson take somebody out. They didn't want to see a 15-round match with Mike Tyson. They wanted to see him knock somebody's head into the third row. And it was they wanted to say they were there when Tyson finally killed somebody. He's probably single-handedly responsible for the MMA. And I don't think that's an overstatement because of the way that he sold tickets. Now, was that the reality? Was it actually the truth that he was going to kill? Never happened. But the perception that it could happen is what sold tickets. The perception that it could happen is what sold tickets. And you know what's going to get people to vote? The perception that this 59-year-old female person of color from the Democratic Party is going to be the new hope. The chapter will now have been turned from the old white man, or from the man in general. The chapter will have been turned to a new era. That's the perception. That voting for Donald Trump is a vote for the past. It's a vote for doing things the old way. It's a vote for people who are followers, not their own independent thinkers. And that's what the perception of J.D. Vance is that he's a follower. He's a what we used to call brown noser. Sticks his finger in the wind and sees who the toughest guy in the room is and becomes his best friend. For 3.5 years, all of this has been off the table because they truly didn't believe Joe Biden cared about the climate. Joe Biden cared about trans rights. Joe Biden didn't care about the corporate agenda or anything like that. He didn't care about any of it, and even if he did, he was incompetent. He was senile. Guess what? All that's gone now. Feminism, corporatism, the trans gay agenda, the black minority, person of color agenda, the climate agenda, and the globalist agenda are all now back in play. And once again, read his daughter's book. Read his daughter's book, The Trump Card. She lays it all out there. And her whole life has been all about perception. You don't have to agree with that and say, well, it shouldn't be that way, that pretty girls this and girls who aren't pretty that and this other. Is that reality? Is that truly the reality? Of course not. Of course it isn't. Nobody knows. Maybe Trump did. Maybe Trump didn't. Maybe Big Mike did. Maybe Big Mike didn't. But what was the perception? But once again, battlefield of the mind. We have a brand new video over there. Trust me, it's something you're going to want to see. It's something you're going to want to see. And once again, it's only $1. Only $1. First 90 days, $1 a month. $3 between now and the 22nd of October. $3 between now and the 22nd of October. And if on the 20th of 21st of October you say, you know what, it's not for me, can I have my $3 back? You get all $3 back. Love to have you. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.